Welcome to another episode of the Caroline Glick Show. We got a really special guest today. Dave Rubin from the Rubin Report is here in Israel for the next several days, and we were able to catch him, so he's going to be joining us in the studio very shortly. But before we start with Dave, I want to talk a little bit about a pretty incredible experience that I just had last Thursday, which is that I spoke at the rally for judicial reform in Jerusalem last Thursday. And, I'll just start this incredible story with the fact that I had 90 minutes notice. The organizers called me up at 5:30 in the afternoon. The rally was starting at 7. My husband and I were planning on going, and asked me if I would speak. I was like, okay. And so I had to get the kids organized, dinner organized, write a speech, and then we had to get to Jerusalem and figure out how to get to the stage. All of it was a misadventure, but it ended up being all's well that ends well. But when I got onto the stage and I'm sitting there with these ministers and Knesset members in the back of the speaker, it was all very surreal. And luckily for me, I was waiting on the stage for, I think, like 40 minutes or something like that before they called me up to the mic. And that gave me time to catch my breath because we were running like crazy to try to figure out where we were going with all the police roadblocks and everything. And also to just sort of calm down and appraise the situation. And the situation, aside from being surreal, because just at like 5:30 in the afternoon, I thought that I was just going to be a member of the crowd, and suddenly I'm sitting on the stage. So that was surreal. But aside from being surreal, once I got over the surrealism of it, and stopped, panting because I had been running around. I was so. It was so inspiring. There were just multitudes of people all around, all of the streets leading up to the rally. They were all filled. You couldn't walk on the sidewalk because it was so crowded. We were running down the street, which was lucky because they were mainly closed off anyway. We were running in the street because we couldn't walk on the sidewalk because it was too crowded. And you just look at the aerial photographs of what was going on, the drone footage. It was just packed. There were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people there. And it's true, you can't see a lot with the bright lights looking from the dais, but you could really sense, and as we were walking up or walking back, the incredible determination on people's faces. And it was really quiet, too, which was weird. Like, you didn't hear, like, screams. Everybody was really serious there, and they were from all walks of life, national, religious, Haredi. There were a lot of Haredim there, and a lot of Likudniks, type of people that you don't see a lot at rallies. Usually when the right wing has a rally, it's mainly national religious. There were a lot of Sephardic Jews there, a lot of just sort of traditional Jews, not religious. They were, wearing jeans. I was wearing jeans. Thought I'd do the the professional, what is it called, a community organizer look or whatever for a change. But you look at the people, and it was really extraordinary how they came from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, and they're all there and just incredibly determined that everybody just wanted to protect Israel as a democracy, as a Jewish state, and make sure that elections have meaning in Israel. We have these gatekeepers, and they're proud of themselves that they're gatekeepers. They call themselves gatekeepers, and what does that really mean? They all go to sleep if the left wins an election or forms a government, and you don't hear from them. We didn't hear anything from the Attorney General. We didn't hear anything from retired generals or sitting generals insisting that the government doesn't have a right to do this or that. In the last government, which was the most radical government anybody has ever seen. Everybody was fine that 4 days before the election, Yair Lapid, without any authority and against specific constitutional provisions of basic laws in Israel, gave Lebanon, which is controlled by Hezbollah, which is controlled by Iran, Israel's territorial waters, its economic waters, and a very large natural gas deposit in the Eastern Mediterranean with no Knesset vote, with no Knesset discussion. I mean, this was totally illegal, and the Supreme Court was fine with that. And then the minute that Netanyahu comes in, he can't move a paperclip from the left side of his desk to the right side of his desk because the Attorney General says that it isn't acceptable, or the Supreme Court says that Aryeh Deri isn't allowed to serve as a minister because it's unreasonable. So, we have this situation where we go, we vote, we get a result, and the results have no meaning when the right wing wins an election. So, this was a very, very serious rally to oppose that and to demand that elections have consequences even when the right wing wins them. And I think, we even saw, like, we were driving home, we were in the car not moving for, an hour while we were trying to get out of the rally when it was over. And, you saw families, all of these families with little kids. We saw women, we saw this one woman walking with this 3-year-old on her back, and the dad was carrying a big backpack, and all the bigger kids, and they were walking for a long time because they had parked so far away because there's no parking. And that's determination, that's serious. Families and families and families coming with their kids. When you see that kind of determination, you know that this has to succeed. That people, it's not like, Miss Lonely Hearts or whatever that we've been seeing a lot in a lot of the rallies on the left, whether outside of the Prime Minister's office in 2018, 2019, where they were having Shabbat dinners and you had all of these people who were kind of from Eleanor Rigby's song, The Beatles, All the Lonely People, all sitting around and having a get-together in their riot against the prime minister then and also today. No, these are people who have day jobs, who have families, and they just picked up and they came to Jerusalem to say elections have to matter. They have to matter. Democracy has to matter. Democracy is not about gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are anti-democratic. They're undemocratic. They're saying that the will of the people will not be heard and it will not matter. We're saying we want the people that are our elected leaders to lead the country. That's the whole purpose. And I think that when you see that kind of determination, when you see the force of the crowd, it's hard to imagine that this won't have an impact. The organizers said, and just from the feel that you got there of the massiveness of the number of people who came to Jerusalem last Thursday, who showed up, they were saying 600,000, 700,000. And I think, based on the past experience when Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, the spiritual leader of Shas, the former chief rabbi, Sephardic rabbi of Israel, when he passed away in 2014, I think it was, that 750,000 people came to his funeral. I think it was definitely of that magnitude, but, the leftist media were like, I saw one sign that said, oh, there were 192,000 people. I always love it when they have a little 2 at the end, like they can count, or 100,000 or 50,000. There was nobody there. It was like nobody showed up. It was a little protest or whatever, and they're making up all of these numbers that don't seem to correspond to reality in any way, but they tried to make it sound like there were fewer people in the crowd. They found a bunch of people who they said were they were walking on posters of the Supreme Court president or the Attorney General. I don't know. I didn't see any evidence of that. It's hard to imagine. And the idea really is to demonize hundreds of thousands of people who showed up by saying that there were these people on the margins who were stepping on the pictures of the president of the Supreme Court. But on the left, they're blocking Ayalon Highway almost as a matter of routine, and they beat Nir Barkat's entourage last week. They nearly attacked him at a restaurant a couple of weeks ago. A protester hit Agriculture Minister Avi Dichter on the head. They've had a lot of really serious violence on the left, repeatedly against right-wing demonstrators, right-wing drivers who oppose them, blocking traffic, or getting beaten on the street, and nobody wants to talk about that. Yesterday, we're taping it on Monday, so Sunday, Nathalie Dadon, who's a fashion model, who spoke at the rally on Thursday night, and because she's of Tel Aviv, she was denied service at a cafe, and she was denied service at a cafe in Tel Aviv because she's on the wrong side of the political divide, and the owner of the cafe, who refused her service, called her a frecha, which is sort of a racial way of attacking Moroccan Jews in Israel, and that kind of turn of phrase that's very racist has become almost ubiquitous on the left. They attacked me because I put up a picture of the Shabbat meals that I had made on my Twitter feed, and my husband's Moroccan. I make Moroccan food, and they attacked me. I think they accused me of cultural appropriation or of going native. I've got a bunch of that too. Because I made stuffed artichokes. They're really yummy, by the way, if you want a recipe. But that's the kind of discourse that we're getting. Oh, there was nobody there. They were really violent, very extreme. There was nothing extreme there. So just to round this all up before we move to Dave Rubin, who's really the most exciting thing that's happening this week on the show, I came away from there very inspired and hoarse. But I believe that we're going to get this right. People on the left who are opposed to judicial reform are going to have to come around, because the more crazy their side campaigns and attacks with PLO flags and other, really, really radical positions that they're putting out these days, I think the more people are really going to see, just as Natan Sharansky and I showed, I think, last week, that the Jewish spirit of this country and the inherent tolerance that just sort of has always characterized Jewish discourse, I think it will out, because everything else is just denying what this country is all about, certainly what right-wing voters are about. And so I came away from there pretty optimistic that we have a great camp, very, very strong. Not all leftists hate Israel. In fact, the vast majority of them love it, and they're not going to watch this country destroyed for a few people to maintain their power. So yeah, I came away from there pretty positive.